There have only been 8 players selected in the first round from Duke University in the entire history of the NFL, and only 2 of those first-round picks have been quarterbacks. The first was Dave Brown, who was taken in the first round of the 1992 supplemental draft by the New York Giants. He went on to play 10 years in the league and threw for 10,248 yards, 44 touchdowns, and 58 interceptions. The second QB is Daniel Jones, who was taken 6th overall in 2019. Today, we'll be looking at his player profile and why he became just the second first-round QB out of Duke. Before we get started, Daniel Jones just recently inked a 4-year, $160 million deal to stay with the Giants. The deal has $82 million guaranteed at signing with $35 million in incentives. Do you think that this was a smart move by the Giants, or will they be regretting this deal in the years to come? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you all are enjoying the player profiles, and please feel free to drop a comment below on who you want to see in this series. It can be a player from any sport. Thank you for all the support, and let's get into it. Daniel Jones was born May 27, 1997 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Growing up, Jones was in a family full of athletes. His mom played field hockey, and Becca, his oldest sister, played 4 years of Division I field hockey at Davidson. His brother Bates played on Davidson's basketball team, and his younger sister Ruthie Jones is a decorated goalie at Duke, and even played with the U23 women's youth national team. Danny was no different than his brothers and sisters, as he was an absolute exceptional athlete from the day he touched the football field. He attended Charlotte Latin High School, and in 4 years there, he racked up 6,997 passing yards to go along with 98 passing touchdowns, and in his senior year alone, he threw for 43 touchdowns and ran for 10. Despite that, Jones was not even ranked by Rivals.com, and 24/7 Sports ranked him as the 2020th player in the class of 2015. Jones was originally committed to Princeton University, but his high school coach Larry McNulty decided to make some calls. One of those being a call to Duke head coach David Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe had a history of producing NFL talent. Most notably, he worked with the Manning brothers. And a quote from Cutcliffe: "Do not connect this kid with anyone else. I will call him tonight." He then called up Jones and offered him a position on the team, but Jones would have to gray shirt, which means he would have to pay for his first semester until a scholarship spot opened up. Jones accepted the offer and headed to Duke University to further his football career. Jones showed up to Duke in 2015 as a redshirt freshman, and in 2016 he was starting to get noticed. In practice, he was giving the scout team a lot of problems. The plan was to keep Jones on the bench in 2016, but an injury to then starter Thomas Sirk in the preseason opened the door for Jones, and he flourished with the opportunity. In just the 4th game of his career, he faced off against Notre Dame, and after watching his performance, you would never know that he was only playing in his 4th game. He completed 24 of 32 passes for 290 yards and 3 touchdowns, leading Duke to a 38-35 victory. This was only the second time Duke had ever beaten the Irish, and the first time since 1961. Jones finished his first season at Duke with 2,836 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions, and he ran for 486 yards and 7 touchdowns, proving himself as a legit dual-threat quarterback. Throughout his time at Duke, he put up similar numbers each season. As a sophomore, he put up 2,691 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, with 518 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. But as a junior, he was more of a passer. He had 2,674 yards with 22 touchdowns and 9 picks, and only 319 rushing yards with 3 touchdowns. In the last game of Jones' career at Duke, they were in the Independence Bowl against Temple. Jones was not even supposed to play due to injuries, and he went into the game at less than 100%. But what transpired was the best game of his college career. After it was all said and done, Jones threw for 423 yards and 5 touchdowns in a 56-27 rout of Temple. This game showed Jones' toughness and showed scouts a lot about his character and intelligence as a football player. In only 3 years at Duke, Jones racked up 8,201 yards and 52 passing touchdowns, both top 5 all-time in the history of the program, and the others above him all played an extra season for the Blue Devils. The kid with no offers out of high school became one of the leading passers at Duke and one of the best prospects in the 2019 draft, and the Giants would take him 6th overall to be the next guy up after Eli in New York. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, where did the nickname Danny Dimes come from? Well, in the preseason, Jones was showing signs that he could be the next big thing in New York, and John Messina, in a since-deleted tweet, mentioned that Danny Dimes could be a nickname for the young QB after Jones performed well in the preseason. Giants fans adopted the nickname, and it's stuck ever since. In Jones' rookie year, the team still had Eli Manning, who was on his last legs but started the 2019 season, and after a 1-3 start, the Giants turned to Jones. Jones stepped in and had a solid season stats-wise, passing for 3,027 yards and 24 touchdowns, but his turnovers were a huge concern. In only 13 games, he had 12 interceptions and an astounding 18 fumbles, 11 of them which were lost, which concerned a lot of people. But Jones had a lot of promising moments in his rookie year, which included tying the rookie record for passing TDs in a game with 5 against the Commanders, and he was also the first rookie to have 3 games with 4 passing touchdowns and no interceptions. Before this past season, a lot of fans were questioning if Danny Dimes was the answer for the Giants. He was just 12-25 as a starter, and the Giants seemed to be going nowhere fast. But in the offseason, the Giants brought in Brian Daboll, a guy who has had success with young QBs in the past, such as Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and most notably, he was credited as a big part of the development of Bills quarterback Josh Allen. The Giants hoped that Daboll could help Jones develop into the player we saw in his college days, and safe to say, after his first year with a new head coach, we've seen that he has the potential to be the guy in New York for a long time. 2022 is the best season of his career thus far in terms of overall efficiency. With a depleted receiving core for most of the year, he threw for 3,205 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 5 picks. He also had by far the best year of his career on the ground with 709 yards and 6 rushing scores, showing everyone that he's still a dual-threat quarterback. The Giants went 9-6-1 with Jones at the helm this season and found their way into a playoff spot. In that playoffs game, he had the best game of his career to this point with 301 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 78 yards rushing on the day, putting his total yards at 379. Jones played smart and was able to answer each time the Vikings drove down the field and scored. Unfortunately for Jones and the Giants, their season came to an abrupt end when they faced off against the mighty Eagles the next week, but you have to give credit to the coaching staff and Jones for turning the ship around this season. Thank you all for watching. And a quick note before we sign off. I have a new podcast out. It's called Sports Aces Podcast. We really appreciate if you guys could check it out and give some feedback. Appreciate all the support once again, and enjoy the rest of your day.